Welcome to Elementary. And today I am interviewing a very special guest. I hope you're having a great new year, wherever you are. And I hope 2023 brings you a world of happiness. In saying that, I hope you have the best year possible. I want to get started because this is a hot topic issue, and I'm sure all of you listening will be delighted. My guest comes on. Ah, you are.
Hi, good evening, Jacqueline.
Good evening. Good to see you, and thank you
Good
for
to see you.
joining.
Well, thank you for having me here. I'm super excited to be here with you.
Yeah. Well, as we're waiting for our guest to join,
Yeah,
I want to start by saying thank you for coming on the show and thank you for agreeing to talk about this hot topic.
I know,
Everybody wants to know about mortgages these
of
days,
course.
right? And where the world is heading to. So we'll get started. For all of you watching, thank you again, as always, for joining us, watching the show, and spending your evening with us. And if you have questions, please feel free to drop it in the comment box or in the question icon below. So as we get started, perhaps you can start by telling us, introduce yourself and tell us your Instagram handle.
Yeah, well, my name is,
I'm really sorry, everyone. Sometimes we have technical difficulties. What can we say? There we go. We're going to try this again.
Hey, can you hear me now?
I can.
Yes, sorry about
Perfect.
that. Some
That's
sort of
okay.
technical difficulty, I guess.
That's right. That's right. Anyhow,
Yes,
so in saying that, we were introducing yourself and your
yes,
Instagram handle.
yes. My name is Archit Goyal. I'm a mortgage agent with Pineapple Financials, and I go by the name The Mortgage Bull, which is at the.mortgage.bull on Instagram.
Perfect. So if you're not following Archit, head over and follow Archit at the
Let's do.
Mortgage Bull. So tell us a little bit. You told us where you work at Pineapple, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, yeah, sure. So I came into Canada in 2016. I was a mechanical engineer and, did my postgrad here, worked as an engineer, but then I decided to, follow the paths of financial services. And that's how I ended up into mortgages. And ever since, I just really want to mention this because, being an immigrant into this country, I know, working with first-time home buyers, how they feel, what questions, what concerns, what fear they have in their mind, coming from a different country, buying a home in Canada, it seems like an overwhelming process. And that's where I understand them better and, help them in making this process as easy as possible for them. Yeah.
So I've had the pleasure of actually working with Richard on a couple of my files. I work with him and Jeffrey on a number of files. And
Yeah.
I actually must tell you that Archit actually is really good at giving that attention to my clients. And they absolutely, especially first-time home buyers or someone who hasn't bought a home for a while. And I appreciate that greatly. He's always available, always helping, so great reviews, great feedback. So thank you for that. I
Thank you very
really,
much.
really appreciate it.
Thank you so
Um,
much as well.
so let's go off on a little bit of a different tangent. Like,
Yeah.
tell me, what do you think the benefits are of working with a mortgage broker?
So, being a mortgage broker, my first priority is to provide the best customer service to my clients, right? To give them the right amount of the strategy, the advice they need, because you can always go to a bank, and work with the rep over there, but they typically work for a year or two in the branch for their role, and they're always selling you the rate. But what I am doing is I can get you the competitive rate, but I want to know what your future plans are. You want to buy a house and maybe you want to upsize in the future. What product is good for you today so you don't end up paying high penalties or high amount of mortgages later, right? So understanding the whole process, the whole holistic, knowledge about the client, that's where I recommend a product or, a mortgage to them. And my goal is always for you to pay the least amount of, borrowing, which means not only for the term, let's say 3 year or 5 year term, for the 25 years or the 30 years of mortgage, you're paying the least amount. You're saving more. That's where, a professional like me comes in and helps you. And I always give this analogy to my, clients, is that you have a family doctor, right? If there's a medical emergency, you know who to talk to, you who to contact, right? So similarly for mortgages, I mean, you have a 3 year term, you got it from a bank, and you go to the bank after 3 years. The rep may be there, may not be there, right? Try calling a bank. They never pick up the phone. You always receive the voicemail. So, I'm always available for my clients for the help, and, spend time with them. Like, initially when I first meet them or first have a chance to have a talk with them, right? Getting across the whole mortgage process, the whole journey. I tell them what they have to do, what they don't have to do, right? And I'm always there to help them, to guide them during the whole process. So that's where, a big difference comes in when you come work with a professional. And not only before, closing on the house, even after, when do you break the mortgage? Let's do like a rate hold, right? So depending on what the market is like, I guide you or help you. And again, the whole priority is to save your money throughout the 25 or the 30 years of mortgage which you have.
Yeah. And customer service is big for me, as you know it,
Of,
right? So,
no, of course.
yeah. So
That's
my first pet
definitely.
peeve is someone not answering the phone. The second pet peeve is even if you leave a message and they don't call you back, that's even worse, right? Yeah.
That's
So
true.
now we're gonna head into this different direction. With so much activity in this mortgage,
Yeah.
market or mortgages, rising rates.
Yeah.
Can you give us some insight on that piece or what you've been reading or what
Yeah.
you've been picking up as you go along on that part?
I think that's everyone's a hot topic right now. Like, first
Mm-hmm.
thing we talk about is the rate increase. So before getting into this, we need to understand why these rate hikes happen, right? These
Mm-hmm.
happen because, firstly, the ones and the 2% we saw in 2020 or 2021 during COVID was extraordinary conditions, never happened before. So those times are never going to come back, right? These rate hikes which are happening is because of the inflation which happened, because of rising interest rates, sorry, rising gas prices, the war in Ukraine, right? That pushed everyone into a very difficult economic situation. And to curb that situation, the Bank of Canada has been aggressively rising the rates. It is a good thing for economy. Yes. For home buyers like us, no, it is not, right? So that's the reason why it's happening. Now, the question comes, how long will it go for, right? So these rate hikes takes 12 to 18 months to run a full cycle in the economy. So they are there for the benefit, right? So that we can have lower inflation numbers. And obviously, because of these higher rates, prices have been, correcting, property prices have been correcting, which is a good thing for the buyers as well, because it just gives them an extra opportunity to have lower principal amounts by the end of, their term, rather than paying lower interest. It's better to buy a house at a lower property price. So yeah, the rate hikes have happened aggressively, and we're looking that it's not going to be as aggressive this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess we have the next one coming January 25th. So that's interesting. Everyone's waiting with bated breath,
Yeah.
you know. So what do you see happening over the next few months with rates?
So what I believe is that the rates are going to increase, like what analysts are saying. Ideally, we were hoping that the last year December's hike would be the last one, and the rates would continue to be where they are, a bit more stable for the whole year. As I mentioned, it takes 12 to 18 months to run a cycle in the economy, right? So before they decrease, they want to keep it stable and have the full effects of the high interest rates, which are there to help the economy. So going forward to what's going to happen, analysts are saying that that the rate might increase by 0.25 coming January, might increase a little bit more in the future, but it's not going to be as aggressive as what we saw last year. Like we saw 1%, 1.5%, in one go. So, but by the end of this year, in the last quarter, they start coming back to a bit normal, like a rate of high threes, 3.84% was normal before COVID in a regular economy time. So they want to bring it back to that time. It will eventually bounce back to that, but it's going to take another year or year and a half easy to go to those normal.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. It runs a cycle of 12 to 18 months. And even if you take a look at the 12 months halfway through,
Yeah.
2022,
Yeah.
when, well, in March of
March
2022
started
ish,
rising.
right?
Yeah.
When the rates started going up. I mean, technically, you're right, by the third
Yeah.
quarter, we should be seeing that, some sort of plateau or bottoming out of those rates, right? I mean,
Another
go
thing,
ahead.
actually, if they start decreasing the rates right now, it's again going to overheat the market, because what we saw in 2020, 2021 was
Crazy.
because of the cheaper money available, right? Everyone was jumping into the market. Everyone wants to buy a house, and then just overheated real estate market and inflation in numbers in general, right? Because the government was giving free money, and that just created a lot of debt on the whole economy. That's the thing. Like, I mean, the rates will bounce back, but we have to be patient. We have to ride this wave of high rates, and they will start taking, baby steps to, come back to normal by the end of the quarter, starting off and mid of 2024. And hopefully by the later end 24, we can see those 3 to 4% normal rates again.
Yeah, the market has definitely, I mean, people are sitting on the sideline, right? Like everyone's sitting on the sideline. I mean, I have a number of
Yeah.
buyers who were ready and then just decided to sit on the sideline for a bit longer. But on the flip side, there's two things at play. The demand of the housing hasn't stopped. The demand hasn't gone away.
Yeah.
In fact, demand is going to come back with a greater force.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, there's going to be a few that actually take advantage of the market and buy low and then refinance, right? We say it all the time, the rate, you're not married to it. You can refinance at any point, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I still have a couple of buyers who are very, into that. They'll take a shorter term, they'll refinance, and that way they'll get a house so it's a matter of balancing out what works for them, right?
And I think this year will go very much on, couple of months to month basis, because a lot depends. We saw it last year that a lot depends on what Bank of Canada decides on the rates, right? If it was an increase, people were again back into the fear, and they don't want to buy, they don't want to jump into the market. So if we see an increase in January, which we are kind of hoping, right, that's gonna discourage buyers more again, right? Because they're gonna feel that, oh, it's the same trend from last year is continuing, and maybe let's wait until this is gone. Once the Bank of Canada stop increasing the rates, right? So people will get more familiar, comfortable with the rates. Okay, now this is what I have. This is what I'm going to pay, right? And it's only lower rates after this, right? That's where the market is going to open up. And we can't forget the amount of immigration which is expected to come into Canada, right? Approximately 465,000 this year, 485,000 next year, and 500,000 in 2025. So it's approximately 1.5 million people coming into Canada, and most of them want to come to GTA. No doubt, Alberta has been very popular with people living abroad. They know that it's more affordable, but still a lot of job opportunities bring people to GTA. So that's going to shoot up the prices again, because they need houses to live. Either you rent, either you buy, right? And it's a statistic that within, like, an immigrant coming into Canada buys a house in first 3 years. So obviously the demand is going to increase, which is going to put multiple offers, and we're going to see those scenarios again, where, because the initial problem we have is less of supply and more of demand. And with extra population, that's going to put more pressure, which is going to increase the prices.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how do you determine then what kind of mortgage is best for each customer? Like, how do you come up with that?
So my first part of the process of this is, first having a conversation with the client, knowing what they are looking for, right? As I mentioned, like, let's say if there's a couple who's buying a condo right now and they plan to have kids in the future, they need bigger space. So are they upsizing within the first 3 years? Are they upsizing after 5 years? Or what are the plans with the property? Because really what their future plan of is, that's where I can determine what is the best product for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they want to sell the property in 3 years, 5 years fixed won't make sense for them because they're going to be paying high penalties.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a shorter term of 1 year or 2 years is more beneficial for them, or maybe variable if they have the tolerance to manage the rate increase or the rate
Mm-hmm.
decrease. It will make more sense, or depending on client to client, to be honest. That's where, and as an independent broker, I'm connected with multiple lenders. It's not only I'm connected with one bank or the other. So I'm connected with all the A lenders like TD, Scotia, other monoline lenders. Monolines are the only deal in mortgages if they don't have checking savings account. MCAP, RMG, RFA, there's plenty of those, Equitable Bank. So they have multiple products, multiple terms, flexibility, which can
Mm-hmm.
help a client in a particular situation. So after knowing what they are looking for, that's where I can, open my bag and see which product helps them the most and saves them the money again in those 25 years, because it's not about the first 3 years or the first 5 years. A lot of clients, the only thing they look for is the best rate. But sometimes that's not the best case for them, because I can give you the best rate, but what if the penalties to break them after is so high that it just sums everything up,
Mm-hmm.
which I was, providing you today. So again, going back to the basics, knowing the customer situation and helping them according to what they need.
And also walking them through, right? Like, I mean,
Of
I know
course,
you've done it for a couple of mine where you've given them options to say, hey, if this is what your plan is, you can do this, or you can do this, but this is, the alternative, right?
of course.
And that's always helpful because, a lot of times for me, it's helpful for me to also understand what the client's, looking for. It just helps me understand the numbers a bit more
Of course.
as well, right? I can get creative as to how we work.
There's
So
always some moving parts, of course.
yeah,
We have to make it
without
work.
creativity,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's always getting creative. It's
Yeah.
always about being, understanding and coming up, thinking outside the box and figuring out a way. If you don't have that, it's, be stuck a little.
That's true.
Um, so what fees are associated with working with a mortgage broker to
So
secure a mortgage?
generally, there is no fee. Like, let's say if you're going for a conventional mortgage through A lenders like the banks, top banks, or the other monoline lenders, which are the A lenders, which I mentioned,
Mhm.
because they pay us the finder's fee. So there's no fee involved in that. It's absolutely free, free service for you. But if you are going, on the alternative side, sometimes it's there are many challenges which you have to go through. So there's like some broker fee. There's 1% lender fee, which goes directly to the lender. And I do charge a broker fee on that. And if you're going the private route as well, like if you have a boost credit, you have cash income, and you want to get private lending, that's where the private lenders don't pay us anything. So there's always a broker fee involved on top of the lender fee. But generally, if you're a first-time home buyer going with the bank, there's no fee. But you do get the full pack of service, like helping you understanding the whole process of mortgage, taking you through, walking you through the whole mortgage part. And even after closing, right, I stay with my clients. I give them, insightful emails, how the market is behaving, how it's affecting your mortgage. When rate hikes started happening, a lot of my clients who had fixed rates, they were panicking because they were thinking that the rates are going to increase, right? That's where I got connected with all of them and told them that these only affect the variable part, not you. So you're secured for until your term ends, right? So all
Mhm.
those help even after they get into their homes is where I help. So I always want to make sure they can pay their mortgage, not only getting the mortgage, they can sustain the mortgage.
Mhm.
That is the biggest part, because this is the biggest loan probably of your life, right?
Yeah.
And it's the biggest stress on people, how I will pay my mortgage if something happens to my current situation, or something happens to
Mhm.
the economy, which we are seeing right now. So guiding through the whole process is very important.
Yeah, and I'm always actually a little perturbed and shocked when people, look at buying a house and they don't understand that this is like their biggest asset,
That's true.
And, for me particularly, like trust is such an important factor,
Yeah.
you know, um, making sure people have the same values I have that I share with my clients and stuff. So it's really, really important to make sure that you understand the product that you're getting or understand what you're getting into, right?
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
most important.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give someone looking to buy a home in this current market?
See, I know there's a lot of fear in people that rates are high, don't buy. But in very true words, I want to say it is still a buyer's market. I'll give you a scenario. Let's say, you buy a house for a higher price. Let's say you buy a house for 700,000. Your loan amount is 700,000. You're having an interest rate of 3%, for example, right? And you compared to you're buying a house for 550, 580, 100,000, and your interest rate is 5.5%, or close to 5.5%, which is like today's scenario. So you are still paying less mortgage in this high interest, low property price scenario compared to a low interest and high property price scenario. So this is what we have to understand. If you have the budget, you can buy a house depending on the type of house as well. A lot of luxury homes didn't see a lot of correction, and condos and semi-detached and those townhouses have seen correction, right?
Yeah.
And so it is very important to understand that this high interest rate has pulled some buyers. Most of your competitors who were going to put offers on your house are not in the market. So why don't you take advantage of that? But it's just that the rate hike has been brought such fear in buyers that people, they just don't want to understand the story behind the rate hike. And is it still a good time? They don't even want to have a conversation. So this really starts with the buyer. Let's talk, let's see what's available for you, what is the best option, right?
Yeah.
If you can afford it or not. If you cannot afford it, I'll be the first person to tell you, don't jump into this. It's too soon for you, right? So it's all about reading behind the lines. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you want to add anything before we wrap up? Something I may have forgotten to ask you? Anything you think we should, anything at all?
Well,
Do you think I covered?
I just want to put this point across, which I just actually touched on, is that, if you have a situation, if you have any doubt or any fear of what's happening in the market, I would suggest, let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation with both of us. A realtor and a mortgage agent can actually advise you what's good or what's not. Should you do this or not, right? That's the first thing. And I think the step has to be taken by the buyers, right? Because I know it's a very stressful time. There's a lot of things happening in the economy, jobs and everything, right? But you do need a house. You need a house for your family, right? So if you are thinking anything, you have any concerns, feel free to get in touch, and let's talk it out and see what the best solution is for you.
Yeah, people need to live somewhere, right? And when you look at the rents these days, you kind of
Exactly.
be very surprised actually as to what you're paying and what you're getting for a rental.
Yeah.
And in saying that, I mean, listen, I'm all about home ownership. I'm an immigrant myself, those are the things, an immigrant will come to this country with a few pennies in their pocket and they will get a home.
Yeah.
That's the way life works for them. That's their dream, and that's what they'll achieve.
Yeah.
And without a doubt, a lot of the immigrants coming in, I'll without without hesitation, I'll say they will ask that question, even if they're not ready yet, so that they can plan. And so when you start looking at, I mean, I look at rent rates, I get heartburn, but that's just me. And if there's a way for you to find a solution. But I think what happens is people get let's say someone can make a condo work, a one-bedroom condo, two-bedroom condo work. They're not looking at condo. They're looking at, I want this detached home, which is like 2,500 square feet. And the point is, what happened to the time where you could get a condo, then move up, townhouse, then move into a semi or a detached. I mean, those step by step was what people would do back, from.
See, it's a ladder. You cannot reach the top with the first step. You have to climb your way up to it, right? So yes, we all want the biggest house, the best house in the world, right? But we have to make our way towards it, right? That's what we have to understand as a buyer is that, it's one step at a time, right? I mean, uh, you don't want to buy something which you cannot pay, right? It's a mortgage. It's every month. It's not one time, right? You just do some extra work or try and make it out and it's done. You have to do it every month, right? You have to pay every month. So you have to make sure that it is under in your budget. It's fitting with your family needs, your financials and everything, right? So again, and with time, appreciation happens. Like, if you see the Canadian market if you see a 5-year bracket, prices have increased, right? And again, with the immigration coming in, with the demand which is there out, and the rates going back to normal in a year or 2 years, it's going to bounce back. This is going to happen, right? It cannot just go
Yeah,
high and high and high. So that is something which is out there. Yeah, we just need to, educate ourselves or, don't have that fear on and go from there.
yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for your time this evening. I really appreciate it. I appreciate what you do with my clients, and I
Thank you.
appreciate it when you're my interpreter as well.
Of course.
Yes, I, totally appreciate that.
Thank you
In
so much.
saying that, where can people find you? What's your website
So,
or whatever? How can they
well,
find you?
I can share my phone number. It's 647 eight
They'll keep
six
calling
one
you. They'll
four
harass
three
you.
eight zero. It's okay. I'm always happy to talk.
Good. Oops, you got muted. What happened?
Sorry. Hello. Yes.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So the best place to reach me is again my mortgage, Instagram handle, the mortgage bull at the mortgage dot bull, and you can DM me, you can give me a call, and I'm always there to help. Yeah, even if you're working weekdays, I am available on weekends, and it's just to connect and then let's get a house if you're looking for.
Perfect. Perfect. And for all of you watching, I so appreciate your time that you take to spend with us this evening. I know time is precious, and so thank you so much. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jacqueline Watson, and I'm a realtor with Sutton Group. And Monday evenings at 6, tune in. I interview businesses. Today, I just happened to be interviewing a mortgage broker.
Thank you.
Anyhow, I'd love to interview you. And if you want to get on the show, DM me. And if you think there's a topic you'd like to hear more about, I'm happy to DM me as well. And we can go from there. But thank you so
Thank you
much.
so
And thank you,
much for
Archit.
having me.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much. Thank you everyone who joined in as well. Take care.
Bye.